Have you ever sat through a boring safety presentation? There is nothing worse than when it's your first day on a new job and you show up and you get put into an uncomfortable room and you watch a video that is dull as dirt and boring, and you're thinking, what have I just signed up for? Today, we're going to talk about the 5 reasons your safety orientation is terrible and what you can do to make it better. So check it out. All right, I don't want to offend you. Maybe your orientation isn't terrible, but I know I've seen a lot of really bad ones. And oftentimes it's because of one of these reasons or maybe a combination of the reasons. So the first reason the safety orientation is not doing what it's supposed to do is because people are bored out of their mind. We don't want to have a boring presentation. We want to have a presentation that's actually engaging, that pulls people in. That's what we want. And so the best way to do that is to tell stories and to show pictures that are relevant and catch people's attention. A lot of times you're going to have people sit through a safety orientation that are already familiar with some of the hazards of the workplace. Sometimes you have people that don't know anything, but more often than not, you're getting somebody that's been through another orientation somewhere else. And so you want yours to stand out and to be specific to the company you're working with. And that leads me to the second reason that orientations fail, and that's because they're too generic. You don't want generic pictures. You don't want generic bullets on the screen. You don't want anything that's just, oh man, this could apply to anybody, right? Hey, here's a fire extinguisher. This is how you use it. Like, okay, we need to cover fire extinguishers, but how about we talk about where we actually might need it at this facility? So we want to use things that are specific to this facility. Now, the third reason that your orientation is failing is because you pick the wrong person to talk to. And what I mean by that is if you make the presentation or you make the video, you want to be talking to the person that's sitting in the chair, not to the legal department or the HR department or your boss. You don't want to use complicated language or insider jargon. You want to be talking to somebody like you're having a cup of coffee with them and you're explaining the safety program. So the tone of the presentation is important. If it comes across like I'm talking down to you or I'm talking in really complicated terms, that's not accomplishing what it's supposed to do. Make it conversational, make it stories, make it explain, and make it clear. Okay, so the first 3 things, just to recap, we don't want it to be boring, we want to talk to the right person, and we don't want it to be too generic. We want it to be specific to the company. Now, the third reason is because it's out of date. It's old. And that's a classic problem with safety orientations is we do it once. You know, we did a great job on our presentation back in 2004 when we put it together. Well, guess what? It's 25 years later. Things have changed, right? The company has changed. The company has grown. People have changed. Hairstyles have changed. We want to make sure that when we have a presentation, we keep it updated at least every 2 years. Right? We want to put a fresh coat of paint on it at least every 2 years, make it relevant to the company as they are now. If you're showing pictures of departments and machinery has been moved around and things have been changed, it's not relevant anymore. It needs to be updated at least every 2 years, sometimes more than that. The 5th and final reason I want to point out now is not everybody goes through the same orientation. Now, this is a classic problem, and it's one of the reasons I encourage safety managers, if you revamp the orientation, let's say you revamp it every 2 years like I recommended, then you put everybody through it. Now, they don't have to all take time off of work and do it at the same time, but I would encourage you to stagger different departments and have people go through the orientation as just part of the regular safety training. That way, everybody sees the same presentation. There's nothing more frustrating than when you spend time focused in on one safety program and the new hires that come in, let's say you hire 20 new people a month. Well, those 20 people come in and they get fed the new information, and it's helpful. And it says you should not stack pallets more than 12 high. Okay, I have it burned in my brain. 12 high, 12 high, 12 high. And then I walk out on the floor and the pallets are stacked 15 and 20 high. Why? Because that information that's in the orientation never got communicated to the guys in the shipping department that are stacking the pallets. You want consistency. So when somebody watches the orientation, they see the real floor, the real production area, the real processing area, and they know, it fits. It's the same stuff. So orientations, they can be terrible, but you can make yours better. So avoid these 5 pitfalls. Don't make it boring. Don't make it too general. Make sure you're talking to the right person. Make sure that everybody goes through it. And the last one, the one that I was struggling to remember, is don't make it out of date. Keep it relevant. Now, until we meet again, until we talk again, I want you to remember one thing. What you do matters. As a safety manager, it is your job to look out for people because they don't always look out for themselves. And what you do matters because you prevent people getting hurt. And no one should get hurt at work.